tell our audience a little bit about your artist career and some of the projects that you've worked on.
Well, to kind of summarize it and then get into detail, I left the military, went to work for IBM. IBM needed some artwork done for new offices. And they asked me because of the clothes I wore. I was wearing these fancy clothes and orange ties and everything. And you don't do that in IBM. And they called me in and said, you wear a lot of fancy clothes. We want our offices decorated. And so go get it decorated and hire some artists and do all and get it done. We need the carpeting and you're in charge of it, office, decor, everything. You got it. But we ain't paying you no more money than we're already paying you. So I started out, yeah, I'll take it. So I kept bringing this stuff in on consignment. They said, no. So I had an office in Boulder, and I was driving to Boulder. I had this crazy idea. I drove back to Denver, and I drew down 200 publications from IBM's library, and I took it home. I have 5 kids by now, and we cut them up, and I made paintings out of all of their brochures, and painted big color fields. I took them back down, and he says, "Oh my God, this is the man!" So
this, huh?
I sold 30 paintings. They wanted just to be in the public areas, but I talked them into having one for each office. So I decorated all the public areas, and I did all the paint. And I didn't tell them I did it till later. I mean, the guy said, "Well, Dwight, we knew you did them," but anyway, that got me started. And he asked me if I had done any metal work, and I said no. And he said, "Well, we need some metal stuff for the offices." So I went and bought a welder and taught myself how to weld and got all this metal, and I made these big metal sculptural things with IBM things over it and all that kind of stuff. And that started with that office, and 7 more officers called. They were visiting Bob Hogg and said, "Can I want one of those in my office?" So next thing you know, I've got these things going everywhere, right? And that got me restarted in art. And then I left IBM. I quit IBM and opened up a chain of barbecue ribs. We call it Rib Cage. I had 5 restaurants in Denver. That's why I brought GP out to work with me, because I had 5 restaurants. And then I got into the construction business. I became one of the largest land developers in the state of Colorado. No, I was number 7. They went into ratings and stuff. But I was taking all of my junk from my construction sites, taking them to my house, and making art out of them. Okay? And our first black lieutenant governor came to, well, I used to party all the time. They came to my house, all this little art sitting all over the place. And so when he got elected to be lieutenant governor, he said, "Dwight, come down to my office. I want to talk to you about something." He said, "They need a sculpture of me for the Capitol." I said, "Well, you talk to me. I will. Nails together, man." That's silly. By then I had 5 companies. I had a construction company. I had executive aviation at the airport with Learjets flying people around the country. I had an interior decorating firm. And I went to
Well, you had the cash flow, man.
Oh man! I was running, man. And I had 5 cars. I had a Porsche, 2 Mercedes-Benz. I mean, I had it all. And that was I had a lock on everything. And George told me, he said, "Ed, let me explain something to you." He says, "First of all, we want to know in Colorado, why did blacks come west?" I said, "George, who cares? It's what are you talking about?" He said, "Ed, we've been on, black folks been here 350 years. And do you know, you can't go to a museum, a gallery, a city square, and find a black image anywhere. Now you go, if you don't believe me, you go ahead and get one of them jets that you got, and I want you to start flying around the country and find me some." So I jumped in the jet. I went Washington, D.C. first. And I could not find. I took 4,000 slides of my. I couldn't find anything. And I came back to George, and George and I were shooting the breeze. He said, "Ed, you've got to record all of African American history, and you can do this. And making all that money is not important. This story," I said, "tell my family that, dude. But this story is more important." Because you're going to become famous as a sculptor. Finish that sculpture of me, and of course he had asked me if I knew who Frederick Douglass was. I said no. Nat Turner, no. I mean, he went down the list, man. I had never heard these people. I was 42 and never heard these people, man. And George said, come down here next week. And he gave me 2 stacks of books. I don't know where George got these books from, man. I took these books and read them. I didn't even know that was slavery, man. I read them books, man, and I got upset. And so
it tends to once your eyes get open.
No, man. I said, man, look what all I missed, and I kept tracing back what would I have done differently had I known all this. You see what I'm saying? And so, man, I sold all the companies. I went back to college and got a degree in sculpture. I got a master's degree in sculpture, and I ran. And they put me in charge of the sculpture department. I ran the sculpture department at University of Denver for 3 years, man. And so, but I was, the Park Service saw the thing that I did for Colorado as a whole history of blacks in the West. They asked me to do 8, I did 50. Park Service saw it, so we traveled around the country for 5 years with that, all the Park Service museums. There's a whole history of blacks that came with, black cowboys, black jockeys, black everything, black women, the whole thing. I covered the whole ground, man. Buffalo soldiers, trackers, everything there was that came west.
I'm surprised that you didn't do something for Ronald the Cowboy Reagan.
You're right. and so it snowballed from there, and we had been into that about 2 years, and the Park Service came back to me, said we want to do a series on jazz because we're having an international jazz thing, and it's gonna culminate at the old courthouse in St. Louis. That's where we're going to have the Battle of the Bands from all the countries that won their country. And we'll have a Battle of the Band, but we need a setting for it. So we'd like to do a history of jazz. So me being from Kansas City, man, I mean, that's in my wheelhouse, man. And because I used to go to the concerts and everything, and Toddy Parker lived in Kansas City at the time, Kansas City, Kansas, like 4 blocks from my house. He lived over on 8th and Oakland. And Mom knew his mother. And then he moved over here and went to Lincoln High School and everything like that. So, and I used to go to all the concerts, and I would go and I have Billy Eckstein spit in my hair.
Boy, Billy Eckstein, and bringing me back.
Yeah, and Lionel Hampton would spit all over me, and I'd get there, 65 cents to get in, man. I'd get there. The concert started at 9. I get there at 7:30, man, and I'd be right there where the thing was where. Lionel Hampton's xylophone was right here, and I'm right here, and he spit out. So I didn't spit all over because I tried to play some music, man. I went down to Sam's Loan because of the bird, and I bought a saxophone with my paper route money, and he let me pay $5 a week for that sax. And man, I could play that sax, man. I could not play it. I tried to play everything that was to play. I couldn't play shit. But anyway, I did the jazz series. We traveled around, and then I started doing, Park Service called me and said, we need to do some big stuff now. We done the little stuff. So my first one they gave me was Frederick Douglass. And again, man, the black art community wigged out, man. What they did, they gave me 5. Because of the show in St. Louis, the Park Service shipped me straight to Harper's Ferry where they buy all the art. Ike Hoover was my dealer guy up there. And they gave me, said, we've been looking for you for the last years. We got all these black memorials that need done, and we could not find a good black sculptor to do them. And they just gave them to me.
The name what they gave you?
There was Harriet Tubman.
Where's Harriet Tubman at?
The story went crazy. They gave me these things. The first one was Frederick Douglass, which is at his house, and as I started, the rest of them, the black art community heard about it. Went to the Congressional Black Caucus, and said we want it killed. That dude, we don't know that dude.
This is sounding like the Tuskegee Airmen again.
Man, David Driscoll went after me. He formulated.
Hold it. That's who I was trying to get. What I'm doing with you, I did 5 hours with David Driscoll. Okay, well, he was supposed to be over the Cosby collection. All right. Well, I'm saying that. Why was he against?
Because my name is Dwight, and he thought I was white. So he called all the other artists, called the Congressional Black Caucus to call the Park Service and kill it.
What?
Yep, and they killed it. And so I had already done the Frederick Douglass thing, you know, and so women.
I gotta take a deep breath on this.
No,
stuff,
man, they went after me with a vengeance. Sam Gideon was the only black brother artist that came to my rescue. Everybody else sent me right down the toilet, man. Elizabeth Catlin, you know, they set her up with the show that's supposed to be next to mine in Matty Johnson's show, and we're doing a big exhibit out there. Elizabeth Catlin walked in and they saw me setting up my. I mean, I wasn't even there. Saw them setting up my stuff and said, "Get that garbage away from my art." I don't, you know. And I'm going. We went to Brooklyn for the.
You know what the Schonenberg is, right?
Yeah, Schonenberg.
All right.
Yeah.
My stepfather was really the original creator of Sesame Street.
Oh, really?
T. Collins.
Oh, okay.
And he same history as you. He went to Columbia University.
Okay. Oh.
He was really one of the first black animators.
Mm-hmm.
I worked on Sesame Street when in 1969, when I was a senior in high school. Public broadcasting had just really come out. Bert and Ernie, those characters, those was T's characters off of Rango beer commercial.
Oh my God!
Yeah, so I'm on to let you know the things that you have gone through as an artist. I can understand. I watched T create. I worked on Wanda the Witch. That was the letter W. Nancy the Nanny Goat. The letter N. And I'm surprised you kept your sanity. T started to become an alcoholic. They had robbed him of all his intellectual properties.
Right. Yeah.
When he got married to my mother, he got himself back together. Animation all was done by hand, but by this time the Japanese were creating, and they were creating the computer came in and so forth. But they honored him at the Schonenberg, and they had Rango and Cuomo was the governor, and so your story really resonates with me as you coming out of this community that I look at you like Obama. You know, you got this white part of your community, and then you're trying to connect with your blackness because that wherever you go, regardless if this white, they looking at you as this, and then you're fighting your own, and then fighting. I'm not using the best diplomatic, but you're having issues.
Well, you know, but you know, kind of what happened to me because I was swept away. Next thing you know, I'm showing at the High Museum, I'm showing at 3 shows at the Smithsonian, and these guys are coming to me. How'd you do this? Who do you know? You know, and with not understanding, it had to do with the nature of my art.
Your talent.
Yeah, and that's what the white community was fascinated with. You know, and I had.
Did you say Guggenheim?
No, I'm showing 3. I've had 3 shows at the Smithsonian. And I'm in the Smithsonian collection. Yeah, man. But I'm not in the black museum. I got 6 pieces.
You're not in Schomburg?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not in Schomburg, and I'm not in the New National
Black Museum.
Yeah, I'm not in there. I've done 100. I've done 128 memorials.
Would you say that a lot of the art world per se and is political in nature to a degree? I would classify it as 100% political. All right.
Okay, let me walk this. Because we got to get to this Kansas City thing. Now, you know, I've been doing. I ended up because white people bring the money to memorials.
Right.
Black people don't. Black people bring ideas to it, but they don't bring the money.
We don't have most of us.
Right. So now word got out from white collectors and white men with money who've been buying my art. When something comes along, they'll say, I want Ed Dwight to do it. You know what I mean? Because I know it'll get finished. I know, you know, and the guy knows what the hell he's doing. He's got an engineering background. He's got his own foundry, and he's got all the pieces
to make it happen.
Yeah, and he makes it happen. Okay, and it's good. You know, it's profound and all that kind of stuff. Well, you know, the entire black community, all throughout this entire thing, almost everything that I've ever done in the black community has almost gone whole hell in a handbasket. I'll give you a perfect example. That was a woman. That was a large project in Oklahoma, and what they do, it's all black committee. Then they'll have a white architect, a white this, a white that, a white gallery owner, and the only people that can vote are the black people. The people are not allowed to vote, and that's the way they set the whole thing up, right? And so now I go in and I'm gonna pick this one out as typical, okay? Because it's not, you know, if I've done 128, I must have did RFPs for 170. Do you follow what I'm saying? And so all these black people in there, I go in, and we get down to the finalists. It's me, and I had just finished one of the largest memorials in Oklahoma. Okay, when I done that? The Texas Riot Memorial. It's now John Hope Franklin Park, but $5 million piece of art, right? So I'm down there. I'm a finalist. Okay.
$5 million. That my audience. $5 million piece of art, not 5,000.
Well, most of the stuff I do is in there.
In that range?
Oh yeah, of course.
Hold it, real quick. Give them a range.
No, I mean, you know, in order to do a memorial that has any merit, that's going to last for 200 years, you know, it's got to be engineered. Everything's got to be right. And it ends up costing anywhere from $3 to $5 million. You know, there's some that are $25 million.
All right. Well, hold it. Let me tell you this. As being a layman, I would have no idea what that type of stuff costs, and I don't think our audience does.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, like we're down here, and so they go into this room. Ed Dwight is sitting there with my suit, which I got criticized for wearing a suit. Blacks criticized me for wearing a suit. Brother, you can't be an artist. No artist wears a suit. So I'm sorry, but I'm an artist and I wear a suit. And so anyway, it was 5 white boys on the other team. The black lady comes out, tall, good-looking woman, man. She comes out, and they announce and they give the thing to the white guys. And then the woman said, "Mr. I know you don't feel good about this, but what we want you to know is your design won." I said, "My design won? Well, what'd you get to them for?" Yeah. She said, "Well, we voted and everything like that, and we, if they did it, we knew it would get finished." I said, "Have you looked at my portfolio?" At that point,
what did not finish?
I have 75 memorials around the country, and what didn't I get finished? Well, anyway, that was our choice. I mean, that was our decision.
You know what? How you just relayed that?
Yeah.
I've had that type of conversation about a half dozen times in my life. I'm saying, because at the end of the day, you just clapped your hand. Well, there's really no more to talk about. We've made that decision. Have a nice day. Man, you relayed that to me. Hopefully the camera caught that.
Yeah. But Ron, I was in St. Paul, man, and said, brother, you're dressed too good. Who's doing it for you? Come on, man. Who's doing it for you? You know,
the Benin Empire. Who did this? Yeah. It couldn't have been you.
Yeah. No, I'm serious. And
I know you are.
And they swear that you know, you're front man, right? You know, and so why don't you just tell us why didn't you bring them with you? And I said, well, I mean, I'm showing them a PowerPoint presentation of all this work that I've done, and they, no, you didn't do that. Somebody else did that. You know, so why don't you bring them with you? It's like play like you're an artist.
Well, hold it. I don't know whether I told you that we're the only black-owned digital media company in all of the Midwest, and we do a hell of a lot of work. And people be looking for where's the white person behind this.
Yeah, exactly. So but anyway, but I've been fighting that for 40 years. I've been doing this for 40 years, and I've been fighting that for 40 years.
So how many sculptures have you done here in Kansas City?
Oh, I don't know if about 5
or
or 6.
that, you know, in the area. Name,
Yeah.
and where they might view some of that.
Yellow Seal, Bluford, Bluford Library, Bruce Watkins at the
What did you do at Bruce Watkins?
Well, a sculpture of him.
Of Bruce, all right.
Yeah, and then that you know
that sculpture of Lucille, you did that, all right.
And then I did Bubba's Place.
Okay. Where would they see? See, I haven't seen Bubba.
Yeah, it's in some government office.
All right. What we're gonna do? We do have some JPEGs as we talk about this. I'll flash them.
Yeah, and then I did a piece for the Follies downtown. It's a big 12-foot long musical piece for the Follies Theater across the street from that big hotel. That Bronco Buster across the street in the park over there. I did that piece. You know about that piece?
Yeah.
And
I just seen your piece at the Folly. My little 17-year-old performed at the Folly last week, and I seen
it. And I did all them bas reliefs on the plaza on the history of Kansas City that you walk on the plaza. I did those.
You did those?
Yeah. And God, I mean,
what's this latest deal that you're here for?
The
Linwood Shopping Center.
Yeah,
and tell our audience a little bit about that.
Yeah. That's a 1% art situation, and you know, and they were, they're in the process of rebuilding the center there, and. Who have
you working with over there?
Well, I was working with Don Maxwell, and Sonny Ruffin was the real brains behind getting me in town, and
told you I know nothing about you guys. No. The guy on the wall. Sonny has talked to me about you forever, and I still didn't know, and I'm so happy to meet you. I didn't know she had something to do with that.
Yeah. And I got a piece at the Jazz Museum, that Miles Davis piece at the Jazz Museum, and I can't remember whether they got a Charlie Parker or not. But
this piece that you're debuting, what is that about?
Okay. Well, what I wanted
and the genesis of it.
Yeah. Well, what I wanted to do was it's a new shopping center. And it was 1% for art, and what they were really looking for with the developers, and I'm not including Don, was they just wanted a piece of jazzy art, and they really actually wanted a collage hanging down. There was a big window of that.
The shop where I know.
Yeah. And they have a big woven window, and they wanted some things hanging down. And I came up with a design for that thing, and on the bottom of it I had these African symbols from all the African tribes hanging down from the ceiling, and that's how it started. But I got to thinking about it, and I got to talk to Sonny, and and I said, Sonny, that's crazy, and they didn't have a lot of money for that thing. I said, that's crazy. I said, what that thing needs, if we really look at the history of it. And they began to talk to me about history and how the slaves came down, almost down Linwood Boulevard, coming from the south, trying to get to Kansas, and started telling me all these stories about, and I'm going, really? And so what I decided to do, I said, you know what, why don't I just talk about the history of Kansas City? And man, I got digging into the history of Kansas City. Turns out the blacks came here in the late 1600s, man.
Right.
And the French brought them here from Haiti. And man, I started digging into this stuff, and then all these black guys, and I'm forgetting their names now. I have them on the plaques and stuff. And so I said, I need to tell this story, step by step. So I started in the 1600 when the slaves first came here, and I walked through early pioneers. I walked through the whole history of Kansas City with some bronze plaques. Now, in order to get people's attention, you got to have an icon of sorts to get people's attention.
Centerpiece.
A centerpiece, yeah. And so I came up with this idea of having a tall centerpiece and knowing and hearing the stories about Linwood and whites coming in and some riots way back in the 60s and all that kind of stuff like that, and how white people abandoned and everything. And then John Wood took me around. I looked at all the houses that were at one time noble houses that are not doing so hot
on Benton Boulevard and so forth.
And so a lot of them were empty and falling apart. And I said, this neighborhood needs some encouragement. Now, there aren't going to be any black folks in Kansas City that are going to come and buy an old broken down house, that, even though it was a mansion at one time, but because this thing really needs new development, but they need some inspiration to do this. So I developed a 16-foot tall tower, and it's a tribute to the citizens of Linwood, the Linwood area. And I got into some mildly heated discussions about white economic power moving into this neighborhood and taking the money out, taking it someplace else. It's one thing for you to come into this neighborhood, and so there was resistance from the developers of the shopping center about why do we need that. I said, well, we need it because these people living in this thing need some encouragement and some inspiration to do something for themselves, get some black ownership in those shops. But I wanted a tribute to the neighborhood, and that's why I got regular neighborhood people at the top of this tower as a tribute to you, as an inspiration, because I got inspirational things and all these things, and it ends up with an inspirational thing to Dr. King, as an inspiration that you
have the base in now. Tell us what you have in now and what's getting ready to go in.
Mm-hmm. What's in now? There are 10 granite elements with bronze plaques on them, outlining the entire history of Kansas City, starting in the 1600s. And I walk them through everything. Every year that happened, something happened. Okay, I talk in the early political leadership, early economic enterprise leadership, and I just walk all the way through this thing, for people who can walk through there and get inspired by the writing that's there. And the other inspiration is, why did this guy bring us here to look at this great big tower here? And the reason I brought it, because that would have been the only thing that would make you stop and read that stuff.
All right.
In the first place. And we need to know our history, because we're running around it and we don't know where we came from and don't know where we're going. And we got to solve that problem, man. Me being from Kansas City, I go to, I got sculptures in some of the biggest cities, all the way to 128. I got to be all over the place. And what happens to me, I go to Atlanta, and the white community says, you got to move to Atlanta. We'll pay for everything. You move to Atlanta. Okay. Do
you feel that you're underappreciated here in Kansas City?
Well, yeah. Well, for any good reason, and a good reason, in my opinion, is that Kansas City doesn't know itself. And you got Ollie, who I've been knowing. Ollie used to date my sister, Ollie Gates. And I've
He's been one of my mentors.
Yeah, and I've watched this stuff and waiting for the leadership, but you can't be a single leader, and look out for just
everybody.
What's around you. You got to bring people up with you, and all the towns that I go to where this is mildly successful, so somebody in the crowd is saying, look, we got to do this together. But in that case, all the boats rise. Instead of having one guy up here making all the money and getting all the play and getting all the.
But that's I have see that right there, mm-hmm. Kansas City Business Association. Right. That's mine, and I have tried to see how I call it the head nigger in charge syndrome, right. From a political, right. And it's. One or a group of people in this system that the economics, the power keeps circulating, and the new ideas. And if you notice, the Buy Black or all of these movements, they're started by young people that have been locked out of the economic and political system. And I'm like, what is it going to take to wake us up? I like what you're talking about that monument. I think that is key to have hey, this is your history. This is how all this, and look up.
But back in the day, they did help each other. Man, I got
Right.
stories of these people helping each other all along this thing. There are people that helped each other.
But you know what I see, and we're switching up. See, once the majority community started really paying more attention to these economics, it's nothing wrong with integration to a degree. And that's how we got economically, where you first start going to the corporations and work. But now you start taking on their values. And if their value is money is God, now you start taking and start losing your moral high ground and start losing everything, because the dollar means more to you than your community.
This is brought to you by Kansas City Business Association, working to improve our community.